Straight on with the football as we go to White Hart Lane for Spurs against Crystal Palace. I can never remember the Spurs pitch looking quite so good. And a little point, if you've just laid 100 or so turfs on your lawn this summer, Spurs in fact put down 26,000 on this pitch, with some better drainage to go with it too. As for the two teams for today's game, Spurs, first of all, led by their skipper, Alan Mullery, and they're at full strength today. This is because Ralph Coates and Alan Gilzean have recovered from knocks they received in that winning European match in Iceland on Wednesday. It's a team that's lost only once this season, that 4-0 thrashing at Manchester City. And in 4 meetings with Crystal Palace, they've never lost. In fact, they've never so much as conceded a goal. So Crystal Palace, bottom of the table, know well enough what they face today. Steve Kember leads the side with Alan Birchnell and Bobby Tambling restored to it, Jerry Queen as well. But they've not had a win since the opening day of the season, and the odds are that they will come and defend. But two players on the field whose job will be to attack are Spurs' £200,000 star Ralph Coates, now beginning to get into the swing of things, and 19-year-old Ross Jenkins of Crystal Palace. This is only his second game in the first team. Referee today, David Smith of Gloucester.
So Crystal Palace get us away in this game at White Hart Lane, defending the goal to our right. Palace in yellow shirts with blue shorts, Spurs in their customary white with black shorts. And I suppose if you're watching on black and white receivers, there is a similarity. Let me just point out for you that Crystal Palace are the team wearing with the black ring to their shirts around the neck and arms, and also the black ring at the top of their stockings. Now here's Alan Birchnell back in the side after 3 games, but a poor pass, and it's Martin Chivers for Spurs. Kinnear, Chivers, Kinnear again, and Coates. Wall watching him very closely, and Gilzean, a certain amount of inconclusive play there in the Crystal Palace defence. But now Kinnear, Gilzean, and Mel Blythe, in fact, who shot into his own goal in this corresponding match last season. I'm sure he must have had that on his mind at that particular moment, but he got out of trouble well. And a foul that time by Blythe on Chivers, but the referee in fact has... Well, the ball is in the net, but the whistle had gone. The whistle had gone. The linesman had his flag up, and the referee whistled. The linesman put his flag down, and I suppose Chivers saw that without hearing the whistle and went on. Really smacked it past Jackson, but long after the whistle had gone for this free kick. And that's how it is from behind Jackson's goal, almost a central position, some 25 yards out. Played by Peters there for Knowles to bang one and well wide. Two skippers, Steve Kember and Alan Mullery. Here's Stevie Kember, who was in fact married earlier this month. Chivers, Perryman. Chivers again, prepared to take on all comers. Onto that left foot. Oh my goodness, just across that goal. What a tremendous break by Chivers. David Payne. Peters, harassed by Payne, but very neatly found Gilzean. Gilzean bundled unfairly off the ball by Hoadley. And the referee not happy with a little piece of gamesmanship there by Hoadley. And the book, is it coming out? It looks as though the book is out. And Hoadley's name goes into the book. Presumably that goes throwing the ball down as showing dissent, and for showing dissent Phil Hoadley has a name taken. So a free kick now to Spurs, to be taken by a bloodied Cyril Knowles. Gilzean taking a bit of a buffeting there. Peters! Oh my goodness, just over that Crystal Palace crossbar with a really tremendous shot by Peters. That'll fall for Knowles. Nicely controlled, neatly to Perryman, and now to Beale. Knowles Chivers. And Coates winning a good tackle there. Shrugging off one from Hoadley. Still Ralph Coates. But in the end, space ran out on him. But it's Spurs' throw, and the first long throw of the match we've got from Martin Chivers. Gilzean at the near post as ever. And nodding it on. Peters now jockeying for a position there. And Mullery to blast it, but well wide. That wasn't at all a bad chance for Alan Mullery. And another example again of how those long throws from Chivers so often cause so much havoc in a defence. Birchinall, Wall. Stopped by Beale. Kinnear. And Beale again. Good play by Philip Beale. And Perryman to take it up now for Spurs. The referee prepared to let that one go on with Spurs in possession. Played for Gilzean. Perryman again. The penalty area absolutely packed now with Crystal Palace players, and Spurs are going to find it difficult. There's Chivers putting it across. Mullery's got in, and he's put it against the crossbar, and it's finally put behind by Mel Blythe, who is down and injured. Mullery's header there against that Crystal Palace crossbar, and they knew nothing about that one. Blythe looking as though he's happy to go on now. Mullery with the corner. And Chivers jumping but not quite reaching it. England to turn it back again for Tottenham. And Peters to nod it in, and this time Jackson to gather it. The whistle in fact goes for half-time. A really defensive battle by Crystal Palace, trying to keep out men like Martin Chivers, who was so desperately close for Spurs on one occasion. But the half-time arrives with no goals, but still to come for you on the big match this afternoon. We have highlights of Manchester United against West Ham, Swindon against Fulham, and the half-time score here at White Hart Lane. Tottenham Hotspurs 0, Crystal Palace 0. We shall be back with you in a couple of minutes. So Spurs then get us away at the start of the second half. No score. Spurs, who've won, in fact, 4 of their last 5 games and drawn the other one. Although might, at the moment, be a little push to break down a very stubborn Crystal Palace defence this afternoon. No trouble pulling down Kinnear then, and a free kick to Spurs. Palace, of course, who haven't won since the very first day of the season in the league when they beat Newcastle. In fact, have lost all their 4 away games. There's Kinnear with a free kick. Peters getting ahead to that one, but no power behind it. Hoadley and Payne losing it to Peters. Blythe in very quickly, just as quickly in was Perryman, now Mullery. Flicked with the outside of his boot very nicely there for Ralph Coates. Knowles going up, and Coates seemed to know that he would be there. Coates across that goal. Coates again. Peters with his head. And Knowles with time enough to turn it back again. Coates. Peters staying right in there. And a goal kick at last to Crystal Palace. Jenkins. Linesman again flagging on this side, but of course the final decision is always with the referee, and if the linesman sees anything, he's got a flag. And now Perryman. Peters. Oh, and goes in. Down he goes, and that surely has got to be a penalty, and it is a penalty. That was a very good piece of refereeing. In fact, Mr. Smith delaying that decision until he saw whether the ball finished up in the net, because he felt that it was a penalty offence when Gilzean was brought down. But now it becomes a battle between Martin Peters placing that ball and John Jackson in the Crystal Palace goal. Here he comes, and there it is. Absolutely no mistake about it. The perfect penalty from Martin Peters, and it puts Spurs into the lead. Beautifully placed there, side-footed by Martin Peters. And so the score, Spurs 1, Crystal Palace 0, 5 minutes of the second half gone. Jenkins, but straight into the arms of Jennings. A penalty that no doubt will now open the game up a little bit, because it's no good Palace drawing men back now. They've got to come back and see what they can do about equalising. Now it's Coates. Chivers. Oh, played nicely wide of McCormick there by Chivers. And away goes Coates on a beautiful run across the goal and tumbling at the very last ditch to get it away for Crystal Palace. Magnificent play by Tottenham, though, in the first place by Chivers. Carried on superbly by Ralph Coates. It's been very tensed up indeed, Ralph Coates, in the few weeks he's had here at Tottenham. But that little run a moment ago will show Spurs fans what he can do. England still not out of trouble, though the linesman is flagging furiously. Birchinall there, and my goodness, that was a bad back pass there that almost let Birchinall in for Crystal Palace. Well, Mike, England would have been a bit sore about that one. Gilzean played delicately wide of Kemba there for Perryman. Beale. Gilzean. Going to look for Chivers, turning that nicely into the path of Perryman, but over that Crystal Palace crossbar, but opening up that Palace defence beautifully for Perryman. So Jackson with the kick. England. Beale. Kemba. Queen. Kemba again. And Birchinall over on the left. Turned down a very interesting looking one there as Queen went in for it, and Jenkins too. If anything, they might slightly have got in each other's way. But a very good looking cross indeed from Birchinall. That's going to go for a throw to Crystal Palace. Ross Jenkins, 19-year-old Londoner, in fact had a very useful first appearance last week against Manchester United. Really hasn't had too many chances today. McCormick to Birchinall, nicely inside for McCormick. Perryman to cut it out, Coates. Oh! And Blythe and McCormick knocking each other's out, and Chivers to tuck it away for the second one. Well, that really was a chapter of accidents in that Crystal Palace defence, with Blythe and McCormick knocking each other out. There they are. And the ball running loose for Martin Chivers to stretch out a toe and poke it past John Jackson. Now Hoadley, and that leaves Crystal Palace, who really haven't had an attack worthy of the name as yet, with a tremendous amount to do. Palace, in fact, who've never, in fact, scored a goal against Spurs in 2 seasons in the First Division, 4 games. But now here's Tamlin going through, stopped almost at the last there, but Birchinall. And Beale, again a clumsy clearance, but again finding Ralph Coates. And Coates, well, in fact, he got the beating of Hoadley there, but then played it safe to Jennings. Gilzean, a lovely flick on there for Chivers. Kinnear. Gilzean. Chivers again. And now Peters. Mullery's gone forward. Chivers again. Knowles. Oh, brought down by Mel Blythe. And again, certainly you could argue that a fortnight ago, that sort of challenge would have brought a booking, but again, we get the situation where things have levelled off to the point that a stiff word from the referee and a free kick for Spurs suffices. Mike England, in fact, stayed back for this one, but it's Knowles to take it. Gills in, and Peters almost terminated again. Gills in, and it goes behind. Linesman on the far side indicating that somebody handled it, and it's going to be a free kick to Crystal Palace, in fact. Beale. Jenkins to look for Queen. And still Jenkins again. Now can Jenkins do something with that one across there? And my goodness, that called for a quick reaction from Pat Jennings. That was a good little break by Ross Jenkins. He made just enough room for himself to get that shot in. Gilzean prepared to let that one go. It's Spurs' ball, and that's a Chivers long throw. England's gone up for it. What a massive throw that is without any real effort at all, and Blythe put it away for Perryman. Gilzean, Perryman! Oh, and my goodness, that cannoned off Mel Blythe when it looked very much as though that was on the way for number 3. Oh, my goodness, Kemba caught that right in the face from Knowles. They were both going for it with their feet, and honestly that must have been 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but Mr. Smith has got his book out, and Knowles, I would think, will get his name in the book for that. But I'm sure if we looked at that we would see that Kemba in fact also had his foot very high indeed. And in fact Kemba is going there to have a word with referee David Smith. Well, I would think that's a little unfortunate for Cyril Knowles. And I suppose you could also say a little unfortunate for Steve Kemba to get it in the face like that too. Phil Hoadley. Tambling. Beale. Gilzean. Perryman's gone off on a run. And that's the one for Perryman. Chivers calling for it and getting it. Now Chivers probably prepared to take on everybody. No, for Perryman. Oh, and it's stopped by Jackson, a good save. Mullery to follow it in. Chivers there, just over. But a beautiful move again by Tottenham. Perryman beginning to assert a lot of influence in the middle of the field now. Perryman with Mullery. Gilzean. Coates the worker to Mullery the skipper, and now Kinnear. Turning again, Gilzean just getting a foot to it. Chivers to nod it down for Perryman. Gilzean. Flick through there, and will it go? No, it won't. Perryman again, playing with Crystal Palace, and Mullery to really hammer that one. They toyed with Crystal Palace once, twice and again, and then out it came to Mullery. A fine goal for Tottenham and their third. And when Mullery hits them, they really stay hit. And nobody could testify to that more than John Jackson. So Palace, after a good defensive first half, look to be in ruins. Hoadley, stopped by Mullery. In tremendous goal scoring for Mullery, those 2 in Iceland and 1 now. England. And Coates. Kemba will always fight, will always look for something. He found nothing there though, but now Gilzean for Tottenham. Happy no doubt to stay in the shade of the stand on that far side on this baking afternoon. A little flick to Mullery, and Spurs beginning to turn it on. Knowles. Gilzean on the far side this time. Perryman! My goodness, there, that burst against a Palace defender who knew nothing about it. Perryman, who scored in this game last season and has twice been desperately close this afternoon. Jenkins. A little flick for Queen. And again Jenkins, that long leg of his, and he couldn't get past the long legs of England. And now Coates. Spurs to take it up again. Joe Kinnear. Peters. Perryman. Kinnear again. Mullery. Cyril Knowles onto that right foot. My goodness, that wasn't far away. And the Palace substitute is on. Bobby Tambling has gone off, which brings them John Laughlin on, a defender. Beale a long one forward. Coates to look for it. Trying to nod it back for Gilzean, but McCormick, another Scot, looks as though he might get the better of this one. Linesman flagging, referee whistling, and a free kick to Palace. Coates. Played nicely for Chivers. Beating Blythe, and my goodness, again Jackson needed to get down very quickly to get a hand to that one. Kemba to Queen. Hoadley. Looking for Jenkins, and now he's found Kemba. Kemba shot. Very close now to the end of the game. Gilzean. A flick there for Coates. In the shadow of the stand, but still at walking pace on this baking afternoon. Back to Kinnear. And another cross, Gilzean to go for it. And the punching, though, of Jackson to get it away for Crystal Palace. Kemba now to Laughlin. Hoadley. And there's the final whistle, and on the evidence of the second half, comfortable and a well-deserved win by Spurs. Martin Peters, who got him on the way with that penalty, Martin Chivers, who added the second one, and Alan Mullery, who added a really extravagant third one after they'd really toyed with the Crystal Palace defence. So then a comfortable victory in the end for Spurs, and a final scoreline that reads Spurs 3, Crystal Palace 0.